Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Michigan, New Jersey, Tennessee, and Virginia. Listen up. WynnBET is now live in all these states, and the excitement of Wynn Las Vegas has finally landed in online sports betting and casino play. From boosted parlays to live in-game offs on every major sport, WynnBET gives you the tools to win. Sign up today for your risk-free $1,000 sports bet. Download the WynnBET app now or visit wynnbet.com to start winning.
You are listening to Dove Valley Deep Divers with Erick Trickel
and Lance Sanderson.
Ball comes out of the hands of Newton. It's on the ground, picked up by TJ Ward at the 4-yard line. Vaughn Miller did it again.
On Overtime Media.
Mile high hello, everybody in Broncos country. Welcome into another episode of the Dove Valley Deep Divers podcast. I'm your host, Lance Sanderson, and joining me, as per usual, is my good friend and colleague. He is Mile High Huddle's senior NFL draft analyst and a very busy bee here today from the sound of it, re-updating his big board, Erick Trickel. Erick, how's it coming so far? You're what? They're right about the middle of round 4 right now, doing your big board right now?
Yeah, I'm like, I'd say probably about halfway done with it. Decided to do an update. A couple big injuries happened. David Ojabo, we've talked about that before. And then there was Damone Clark out of LSU, the linebacker. He had that spinal injury. Updating for that, updating on new information that's being put out there. Watching a few new players that I hadn't watched before. A guy that Eric Johnson, a guy that Nick Kendall brought up to me. Got around to watching him, so adding him to the board, and just decided that instead of just trying to fit them in, I'll just pull up my grading system, all my grades and everything, and just basically redo it, and then basically call it good. Hopefully, I'll be tweeting out the links for that hopefully next week, so keep an eye out for that. But super excited that the draft's almost here and ready, because that means that I can get some extra sleep.
Yeah, because you're going to take about a month off there in June. I know you usually do something like that. You try to take a little bit of time and, recuperate, because you do pretty much bust your butt the entirety from, about September all the way through the draft, finalizing player grades and rewatching players and stuff like that. It's a pretty long process, guys. You got to have a lot of respect for Erick and what he is able to do. But today, guys, we have a great show lined up for you. We're doing NFL draft. Would you rather? We also have an update on the Broncos ownership situation. We'll start the show off with that. With that, guys, there's a major update going on here at not really major. I guess it's just a kind of a brief update here on the Broncos ownership situation. Let's see, who is it? It is Rob Walton. He is the CEO of, or the owner of Walmart. He's actually got a net worth of nearly $70 billion per CBSSports.com. And he's actually getting ready to put in a bid for a $4 billion price tag. And that would be a record price for the sale of an American professional sports franchise, topping what David Tepper paid, that $2.2 billion for the Carolina Panthers in 2018. And then Joe Tsai paid $2.3 billion for the Brooklyn Nets in 2019. So $2.3 billion are damn near going to double that for the Denver Broncos team with the gambling and the new TV revenue and everything like that. This is actually kind of a big update. Erick, what do you think about this?
I mean, I like it. We talked about it before with Jeff Bezos. I'm really against him owning it. And Rob Walton, it's fine. I know there's a lot of issues with how Walmart treats their employees. My wife works there, and for the most part, she's treated fine. There were some issues when our daughter was born, but outside of that, it's been pretty good and it's fine. But you're not going to find a billionaire who owns a huge company that the ethics of the company are, the best. There's definitely issues with Walmart and how they treat employees and everything. And it's like that with any company, really. So it's fine. It's just, my biggest thing is I want somebody who's just going to be a little bit more hands off. And that's just been my biggest thing for it. I don't want somebody like Jerry Jones who's going to be heavily involved in it, or the Washington Commanders owner, how Al Davis was there towards the end. I don't want somebody who's going to be in control. And I think with Rob Walton, I think for the most part, he'll be pretty hands off. So I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I'm all right with it as well. Per the CBS report that I'm reading right now, it was actually cited by the New York Post. The New York Post additionally reported the Broncos are only accepting offers of $4 billion or more, period. Noting that insiders project a final sale price between $4.5 billion and $5.5 billion. Apollo Global Management founder Josh Harris, who also owns the Philadelphia 76ers, is expected to submit a bid as well, per the Post. Now, Josh Harris is an interesting one because there's some connections there that could potentially have Peyton Manning as one of the faces of the front office. You might be an investor there. So that could be another interesting idea to go in there. And then there's also reported rumored interest in Robert F. Smith, who's I believe he is the wealthiest African American in the world. So that's would be another intriguing option here. As far as your comment there goes, billionaires don't make billions of dollars the easy way. There's obviously going to be some rough backdoor deals and stuff like that. People are going to get hurt along the way. Like it's kind of a cutthroat deal making money like that. I don't know anything much about Josh Harris, but I do know that Robert F. Smith has some tax evasion stuff that he's had before. There's also some other stuff behind that as well. So, I mean, no one's going to be squeaky clean, but so long as they're at least a good person for the most part, treat their employees the right way, I can get behind pretty much anybody that wants to do that. And I don't necessarily want a huge group. I don't want like a financial investment group. I want one guy, a big top guy that has a whole lot of money that is willing to do potentially a new stadium complex, hand out big, large signing bonuses to free agents that they want to give out, signing their own players with big signing bonuses to help manipulate the cap space, similar to what the Kansas City Chiefs do with their contracts and stuff like that. So to me, having one big financial investor, one big guy is the way that I would want to go. Eric, what do you think of that?
I mean, I agree, and it'd be interesting to see what they would do. I mean, there's been talks for a while about a big sports complex out near the airport there in Denver. It'd be interesting to see if he would meet up with what's his face, Nuggets and Avs. The name escapes me. The owner there,
Kroenke. Yeah, it's Josh Kroenke.
Teaming up and making like a huge sports complex with the different arenas and all that. So we'll see what happens. Still, I think the process is really just getting started. The timetable for it has always been sometime after the draft. I think the latest time frame that Mike Klis was giving was like somewhere just before the season. So still a lot of time. Rodney Garcia came in and donated some stars. Thank you, Rodney. We appreciate that.
Thanks, Rodney.
We appreciate everybody's support. There was a question there that actually I wanted to grab to before we get to the main meat of this conversation. And that was, did you see that Kyle Rudolph had a workout with the Broncos today?
I did not, actually. That's news to me. Wow, okay. I like that. I really do like that.
Jay Glazer reported about it like an hour or so ago.
Okay.
And it'd be a fine move. I mean, they're still looking for tight end help. They don't need somebody who can be the guy. We've talked about it last week about the usage of tight ends from Green Bay, where Nathaniel Hackett's bringing the scheme over and how Russell Wilson's really used them. So don't need a guy there. I mean, you just can use some bodies. And Kyle Rudolph, he's not the player he once was. He's still solid. He's still capable, and he still can contribute there behind Albert Okwuegbunam.
Yeah, I would really enjoy that move. We'll get back to that here in just a second. Lawrence Rivera jumping in here. What up, guys? Broncos country just gained a lifelong Broncos fan and an amazing veteran. Rest in peace to my uncle Anselmo Puga. Lived a long and beautiful life, and hopefully we get that Broncos sunset here in Colorado tonight to send him away the right way. Lawrence, I'm terribly sorry for your loss, sir. That's very unfortunate, and may your uncle rest in peace. I hope I said his name the right way. And thank you for being here with us. I hopefully we can put a good show out there for you. Give you an escape from reality for just a little bit. Talk some football with us. Get any questions you want in, man. We'll be more than willing to answer as many as we possibly can for everybody. And again, dude, so sorry for your loss. My condolences for my family, yours.
Yeah, condolences as well, Lawrence. Thank you for your support continuously. But man, this is the time to be with family. So, like, rest in peace to your uncle. Sorry for your loss, man.
Yeah. With that, guys, I want to say hello to a couple of other people here. We got a user on Facebook, Abdirasak, I think is how you say that. Josh Cave is also a Rams owner and can be terrible owner. Oh, Josh Kroenke, yeah. Stan Kroenke is really technically the owner there, but because he can't have multiple stakes in the same place, I believe he has Josh run the Abs and the Nuggets. So, but he is also the owner of Arsenal in the English Premier League. So he's been using them for profit only. Before he became the owner, they were one of the best teams in the world. And that you're absolutely correct on that. And that's a very astute point, and I appreciate that point. Because that's definitely something you got to take a look at. But hello, and that's a new name for us, so welcome into the Dove Valley Deep Divers podcast. Going to say hello to everybody else. We got Diego, Travis Weber here, Peter Middleton over in Cambodia. What's up, man? Bobby Robbies, what's up there on YouTube? Travis jumping in, throwing some stars down, saying good evening, Lance, Eric, and Broncos country. Lance, you beat me to it about Walton, except he's actually the heir of the Walmart Enterprises. And Eric, I agree as well. I want an owner who loves the game like Bolden, but will stay out of the team business. And you're absolutely right. So the Walton deal, I'm not exactly sure how the dynamic is. The father is the one I believe is putting the bid in. He's going to get it for his son or something like that is the way that I understood it. I don't know how that whole dynamic is going to play out, but and there's going to be more to come out as we get some more clarity on who's actually getting some bids. There's going to be some more information coming out about these people. So anything that we say right now as far as who these people are, take it with a grain of salt. I just don't know as of this particular point. So I will get some more research done as soon as we find out a little bit more clarity on who's coming in here. Last couple of guys, Kathy Lund jumping in here. No, I did not get new glasses. I'm working on that though. Chase Wellner, Rodney Garcia. We've already said hello to Ernie. What's up, buddy? Guys, thank you all for joining us tonight on the Dove Valley Deep Divers podcast. Got 93 sets of eyes and only 7 likes. Smash that like button, guys, and get some questions going here. Today, we are playing the NFL Draft Would You Rather game. And to give you an idea what we're doing, pick number 64, we're going to go, would you rather draft player A or player B? And then I'll get some interesting, more difficult questions here and give an added dynamic to it. And we're going to try to get Eric on some really good takes here because we're going to start off this very first one. Pick number 64, okay? I have a serious question here. Would you rather take a player that is a more finished product that you kind of know that this is what is going to be the guy that you're looking at in the NFL, or would you rather take a guy with a higher upside? Now, for an example of this, I will say the Broncos at 64 have an opportunity to draft linebacker Chad Muma, who is a more finished product. You have kind of a better idea of what he's going to be at the NFL level. There's still some more upside there. Or you have linebacker Troy Anderson from Montana State, who's a little bit more raw, higher athletic upside. Which would you rather take at pick number 64?
Well, I mean, it's always like on a case-by-case basis on how you just view the player, and upside is kind of like, it's not the same for everybody. So upside to me might not be the same level of upside to somebody else. So it really depends. It's a sliding scale based on different positions, based on the players, how they tested, all sorts of stuff. But in this example of Chad Muma versus Anderson, I think I would go Muma in this case. But I like Anderson, and Anderson at 64, I'd be fine with. But getting to would you rather, linebacker, it's a position where I think that I typically tend to lean with people who may not necessarily have the highest ceiling, but can come in and contribute more right away. Mm-hmm. And I see that with Muma more so than Anderson. And but I mean, it's a tough one because, again, I still like Anderson. I think he can be great in the NFL. I think he offers up a lot of versatility with what he can do in his story arc or his career arc at college, quarterback, running back, like, was great. And he still sees the field in passing concepts and stuff like he's a quarterback. Mm-hmm. So he's got good instincts, got good awareness. He's got the traits you want. But for me, the biggest factor that comes down to is where I grade them. And Chad Muma for me is I believe a mid-second round player, and Troy Anderson is right there in the 3rd round. So Muma at 64 ends up being better value as well than Troy Anderson, in my opinion.
Right. And that's kind of the hard thing here is because you don't know necessarily what everybody's grades are. I have them about the same as you, really, in that mid-second, early 3rd round kind of territory. I don't have a big board built. I just kind of have grades on players that I know. But as far as Troy Anderson or Chad Muma, or maybe even you do something a little bit different, you've got like offensive tackle here, and I'll just throw the one that I have here, Abraham Lucas or Tyler Smith from same kind of deal. Abraham Lucas, more finished product, a guy like that. Tyler Smith has a lot more upside, has some guard versatility, something like that. How would you go in that if it was that direction?
I'd go with Tyler Smith in that case, because I think Tyler Smith, he's got the right attitude that you want.
Mm-hmm.
With Abraham Lucas, I mean, he's fine in pass protection, but when it comes to his run blocking, there's a little bit of some problems there, and I don't think he's the most fluid of movers. With Tyler Smith, I mean, you've got to really improve his hands. There's a lot of penalty concerns there, but the fact that you can play him inside or outside, you can try to work him out of tackle. If he fails, you can move him inside, see if he's able to recover a bit. I like Tyler Smith there more than Abraham Lucas, because for me, Abraham Lucas, he's a tackle-only prospect, and I question if he can really be a true swing tackle and if he's not just a pure right tackle for the NFL.
Yeah, and I actually do agree with you on that one. I value versatility, especially with offensive linemen and defensive backs. Like, that's a big thing with me. How many different hats can you wear? If you're a center only, you're going to be a little bit lower on the grade, like a Tyler Linderbaum. He doesn't have that position versatility. We got some super chats. I want to grab this really fast. We'll get right back to that. Tom jumping in here. With the $5 super chat. Good evening, Broncos country. Mile High Huddle's the best pod around. Thanks, Lance and Eric, for giving me an hour away from Modern Life. I like Troy Anderson. That's a player I really like a lot as well. He answered a lot of questions down in Mobile when he was at the Senior Bowl about the competition that he played against in college playing at Montana State. He went down and actually dominated the Senior Bowl, really caught a lot of people's attention. And from being that high athletic upside kind of raw player that still has a little bit of development to go into, he put himself from that 5th round conversation to a day 2 pick. Like, there's no way Troy Anderson is falling out of the top 100. This kid is a solid, spectacular player. And what he proved down in Mobile was that the tape that he put up at Montana State, which was dominating at times, is definitely what he's going to be able to play at that NFL level. So, yes, I do like Troy Anderson a lot there.
I'd be surprised if he's not a top 75 pick, really.
Right, yeah.
Because,
exactly.
I mean, the way he tested at the size he did, like, it's exceptional. And, yeah, I'm a huge fan of it. And, I mean, when you see these smaller school guys, you want to see them dominate the level of competition that they're playing against. And he did that, like, week in, week out. And then he made the jump to the Senior Bowl, and he still continued to show up and show really good football. And the sky's the limit for him, really.
Yeah. Cody W jumping in here. What's up, Cody? Thanks for joining us again, man. It's a pleasure to see your name back in the chat stream here today. What's your opinion about Jamari Sawyer? It's an interior offensive lineman from Georgia. Eric, what do you think?
I like him. Like, he's one of those guys that I just watch and I was pulled to. He's just he's my type of offensive lineman.
Mm-hmm.
And for that, it can be a little bit problematic for me sometimes, because when I find my guys, I tend to, like, lean away from the issues that they have. I like him. I think he's definitely just a guard in the NFL. I know he was playing or he started at left tackle, I think, this last year.
I think so.
So he can do that, but I think that's a case of where, like, in emergency only, you want to kick him out to play tackle. And that's like, oh, you're down a bunch of tackles that getting hurt in one game, you got to put him out there. That kind of instance. I like him. I don't think he's, has elite versatility in the scheme. I think he can do okay in a scheme that will require him to move. I think he's definitely got more of a phone booth, straight up power kind of guy. So I like him. I think that I have him as a early or mid 2nd round grade.
I haven't really got a chance to study him very much, so I need to get a little bit more in tune with Jamari Sawyer. Whenever I watch Georgia, I watch that defense because it was just so fun to watch, man. There's 7 or 8 guys that are going to get highly drafted, but all of the defensive line are going to get drafted incredibly high. They have Trevon Walker, guys like that. The Quay Walker, Channing Tindall as well, Darion Kendrick, Lewis Seam, like that defense is just stacked, dude.
And talking about that defensive line, probably the craziest thing about it is the best player from that defensive line isn't even in the draft this year.
Exactly. Yep, exactly. Travis Weber jumping in here. And this actually ties in nicely to my next would you rather question here, Eric. He says, I'm probably going to get raspberries for this, but was hoping to get Melvin Gordon back on a 1-year deal. It looks like he might be Baltimore bound, which that is actually a very real possibility. He was visiting with Baltimore. Sounds like they were probably going to be bringing him in to get in with J.K. Dobbins. But until that actually happens, I want to throw the hypothetical out just because we've had this conversation before. You and I have gone head to head about it, but there was a report, I believe it was from Pro Football Talk the other day, about Melvin Gordon when he fired his agent and then went into the athlete's first agency, about how he was probably looking at a 1 year, about $2.5 million deal for his next deal. That's probably going to be something about what he's going to end up taking. The Broncos just drafted Javonte Williams, traded up, used a bunch of draft capital to trade up and get him last year. Now, sitting at 64, Eric, here's your hypothetical and would you rather, okay? Let's say that that all of the offensive tackles, like a Tyler Smith, Abraham Lucas, guys like that, go a little bit higher in the second round. The edge players that you really like are gone in the second round. You're not really ready to take a dive on Troy Anderson at 64. Chad Muma's gone. And the best available player sitting there is Breece Hall, the Iowa State running back, like we had on our mock draft last week. Would you rather take Breece Hall at 64, knowing that you already have a major investment and you want to get Javonte Williams the ball more, or would you rather bring in Melvin Gordon on that 1 year, $2.5 million deal?
Oh, and for 1 year, 2.5? Yeah,
yep.
I would take Gordon. Honestly, and then I would still look at drafting a running back a little bit later.
Yep, and that was the next part of that. Would you have a running back later in that, a guy like a Rashard White or something like that, fourth or fifth round?
But I mean, there's plenty of other variables in here as well. Like if you're sitting at 64 and Breece Hall is the best player left on the board and you're not getting calls to move down, like then yeah, I'd still do that and just, have this 3-headed monster at running back after Gordon is. But I mean, ideally, you're not looking to bring Gordon in until after the draft.
Right.
See what happens.
Yep.
So again, so many variables. I prefer Melvin Gordon back on $2.5 million for 1 year, because then you have the option of what to do next year. You can keep that 1-2 combo that that chemistry down that they kind of got this last year. Keep that going for another year with a new scheme coming in. So I prefer it, but I mean, I wouldn't be super opposed to Breece Hall. I don't think that Denver would take a running back at 64 though.
I don't think that they will either, and that's kind of what I wanted to throw out there with this. Kyron Williams, we'll pair this up and then grab that super chat from Tom here in just a second. Kyron Williams in the 5th round, running back out of Notre Dame. Eric, if they got Melvin Gordon and brought in Kyron Williams, what do you think of that?
Kyron Williams was probably one of the more disappointing people at the Combine. He didn't test anywhere near expectations, and I think Notre Dame had their pro day, and I don't think that he really helped himself much there either. I might be mistaken on that. I might be getting him mixed up with Isaiah Spiller, actually. But Kyron Williams, I like him. He's a feisty little back. He's going to throw his nose in there as a blocker. But it's just, if I'm looking at a guy who's smaller, I want that home run ability. And I wanted him to have it more than he did when I watched him, and I came away rather disappointed with it. But at 5th round, I'd be okay with it in the 5th round. Yeah,
I'd be all right with it. I like Kyron Williams because he has such a great ability to go and catch the football. So that's something that I value, is versatility there. He's not the best pass protector, and he's not really the great vision that you want to see. And in this running scheme, I'm not sure that he's going to be the best fit there. But if you want to add a versatile guy that can go catch the football out of the backfield, Kyron Williams makes a lot of sense. I got a lot of super chats jumping in here, so I'm going to grab a whole bunch of these really fast, kind of not really rapid fire. We'll answer all your questions, but get them going as quickly as we can here. Tom jumping back in with another $5 super chat. Thank you, Tom. We appreciate it, buddy. I would want an edge rusher at number 64. I just don't think that the value will be good. I think we wait to the 3rd round and go Deangelo Malone out of Western Kentucky, or if a quarterback falls, like Gordon at 64. Kyler Gordon at 64 would be an amazing value. I don't think that that's ever going to happen. I would love it if it did, because he has inside-outside versatility, very physical tackler, great coverage, great hands, not overly grabby, super fluid athlete. Like Kyler Gordon is a great football player. His teammate Trent McDuffie is even better. Like that kid's a top 20 pick more than likely. Edge rusher at 64 though, Eric, what do you think?
I think they'll be in that bad spot where there's kind of a lull in edges. the guys that would be worth it would go a little bit earlier. And then there's a few guys who just aren't quite worth it for one reason or another. Deangelo Malone, he's a guy I like somewhere in the third round, but keeping him from that 64th pick is like, there's just too many issues against the run. Dominic Robinson, a guy out of Miami, Ohio, is a guy I really like. I'm a huge fan of his, but there's a lot of work to be done there. I mean, he's definitely just a ball of clay that needs to be molded. And then Kyron Gordon, as Lance said, I think that'd be a pipe dream. It wouldn't be a bad pick. And for me, I mean, it'd be really good value. There's a lot of chatter if I'm going in the first round, though.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, and I don't think that if he does make it out of the first round, I'm not sure he makes it out of the first, top 40 picks. So the first 8 or so picks.
Yeah.
DW comes in with $50. Thank you, DW.
That's Dale, dude. That's Dale.
He says, hello, gentlemen. Thanks again for the hard work and content. I'm a Troy Anderson believer at 64. Football player, smart athlete, versatile. Question: if Ojabo falls to mid-second round, would you move up to get him using third from Rams and a fourth? So saying like using like 75 in one of the fourth round picks and keeping 64?
No, so the Rams pick was 96. So using 96 in the fourth round picks, like 96 and 115. Is that what you're getting at, Dale? Come back to us on that, because if it's 96 and 115.
I'd assume that you're including 64 in this, but just with how it's worded, I'm not quite clear on it. But using 64, a third and a fourth, like that'd be a little bit rough for me to go up and get a guy who's really not going to contribute this year. I've said it before on this. I like David Ojabo, but I think the Broncos, if they're looking, especially at edge, you need somebody who can come in and have more of immediate impact. Ojabo's not that. If it happens, great. I'm not going to sit here and say he's going to follow this Cam Akers timeline. That was such an outlier for those types of injuries.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, my biggest thing is you got to do whatever you can to keep Malik Reed from possibly being in a big role. Like fourth edge rusher is fine, but I mean, you're an injury to Randy Gregory or Bradley Chubb away from him being a starter. So I want somebody who can come in and offers up a little bit more as a starter. Again, that immediate ability to contribute that Ojabo just doesn't have.
I agree with you on that one. I agree with you when we were talking about that a while ago before the Russell Wilson trade, before the injury and everything like that. Ojabo was an interesting study because I think that the upside is there and he can turn into an elite level pass rusher at the NFL level. But at the same time, there's still some rawness to his game, and he has a long ways to go. At 9 overall, there was a lot of people saying 9 overall before the Russell Wilson trade, it would have been worth it to take David Ojabo. I wasn't necessarily there on that one, especially after watching Jeremiah Johnson just destroy it at the Senior Bowl. Ojabo now he's got the year off for the Achilles injury, and he's already had he probably would have been better off staying at Michigan for another year, to be honest, to develop just a little bit more, but at the same time maximize your draft value while you have it. Now he's at least out a year and still has to work through all of the issues that he had as a raw prospect coming into the NFL. That's just not something that I'd be willing to do, especially if you're using 64 to do that. Now, if you're using just 96 and just 115, if you can get into the 50s and figure out a way to do that, I might think about that one. But you've got to keep 64. You've got to keep that 64th pick and keep that value there as much as you possibly can.
I just don't think in that case the team would be interested in moving down. I think they would be wanting 64 at least. Yes. I mean, obviously at least. So I just don't think that a third and a fourth would be able to be enough to get up there.
No. Cody W jumping in again here, another $2. Sign Melvin Gordon and focus on getting an edge and a right tackle in the draft. I would be all right with that. Go into the draft, filling as many holes as you possibly can. Tom Lockhoff jumping in again, $2 donation on this one. I like Hassan Haskins, the running back out of Michigan. Apparently, so do the Broncos. That was something Benjamin Albright reported on Broncos Country Tonight a couple of weeks ago, actually. Keep your eyes on Hassan Haskins in probably the 5th or 6th round as a guy that can come and fill out that running back depth chart. Eric, what do you think of Hassan Haskins for everybody?
I like him. I mean, he's good. He's got good size. He's got decent speed, decent versatility. He can fit really well as a number 2 back. It's just a matter of where he's going to go. I think he has a chance I don't think he cracks the top 100, but all it takes is one team, and there's some teams out there that I've heard that really like him and could potentially be a top 100 pick for them.
Yeah.
So I like him, and he's the guy who met with the Broncos. That report came out just before Albright mentioned the connection there of liking them, and I mean he's met with them, so there seems to be interest depending on how much stock you put into players meeting or teams meeting with players, because doesn't always mean that there's actual interest there. As Bronco fans know, I mean, last year they really kept their interest in Patrick Surtain quiet. A lot of teams use those meetings to kind of throw other teams off, or, okay, we have severe questions about this person's character. We're going to use these meetings to kind of cement that. Meetings are used for all sorts of different things.
Yeah. Travis Weber jumping in here. I can't remember where I had seen this, but it sounds like Denver might need to trade into the second round if they want Chad Muma. Trading up from 64. There's a possibility. Let's just put that out there. There is definitely a possibility that if the Broncos want to get Chad Muma, they are probably going to have to trade up to get him. I've heard Cincinnati has an interest in Chad Muma as well. So pairing him with Logan Wilson, having the dual Wyoming linebackers, that would be a really fun pair for me, especially because my stepson is a Bengals fan. So I kind of halfway root for him anyways, just to see him be happy. So to see Logan Wilson, who was a guy I really liked, Chad Muma, again, Wyoming guy, that's kind of what I do. Yeah, that would be fun. Trading up for a linebacker almost has the same palette to me as trading up for a running back, but we just saw how good Javonte Williams was. So I mean, take that with a grain of salt. It's not necessarily something that I would be wanting to do, but if you had to do it, I would be okay with it.
And it's been for a while now that Chad Muma's been looking like a top 50 pick. And then the pro day, I think, just kind of possibly cemented that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of love for him in NFL circles, and I've said it on here before that I liked him more than Logan Wilson, and it seems like NFL teams do as well.
Yeah. Peter Middleton jumping in here with a would you rather question for us. Guys, get them in. Get them in, as many of them as you can. We will answer as many as we can throughout the rest of the day. I still got 3 more, by the way, that I want to get to Eric here. But we're going to grab this one first. Peter Middleton, jumping in from Cambodia, says, would you rather draft highly drafted is so Peter, I'm going to have to give you a qualifier on this one. Is this outside linebacker as edge or off-ball linebacker here? Because you could go 2 different ways from here. I'll say edge for right this second. Would you rather have a highly drafted edge defender linebacker, but no offensive tackle drafted, or a highly drafted tackle, but no edge defender?
Edge. I'd rather draft the edge than the offensive tackle.
Me too.
And part of the reason for that is that Denver, I'm not as high on Billy Turner as others. I think Tom Compton's okay, but you have options there. Whereas at edge, you have 2 guys with major injury history in Bradley Chubb and Randy Gregory. And then you go to Jonathan Cooper and Malik Reed. I think the drop off is much more significant there at edge. And so you want that position there. Whereas at tackle, I mean, Calvin Anderson as well, and Quinn Bailey, if they keep him around, it's going to be a drop off there as well. But I just don't think it's as significant as one, especially when you have Russell Wilson compared to the inability the Broncos had of getting after the quarterback last year.
Yeah. Chase Wellner jumping in here, $2 super chat. Who would you move up for to pick 50, for example? To me, so this is hard because the way that I want to phrase this is not going to sound the way that I actually mean it. Because I'm like a guy that you would potentially see as like a first round pick that's fallen would be the way that I would do that. The way that I would phrase that. There's 3 players specifically that I'm going to put out to you here, Eric. Potential first round picks that could be falling out into the mid 45-ish area, which I think the Broncos could potentially do. And all 3 of them are a position of need. And they're, as far as my concern, probably in this order. It would be Kyler Gordon first, Boye Mafe second, and Bernard Raymond third. What do you think of that?
I agree with 2 of them. With this corner class, I wouldn't be trading up for Kyler Gordon. I wouldn't trade up for any corner really, unless somebody fell drastically,
right?
Like Trent McDuffie, for example.
There you go. That's
he fell with him. Then maybe. But outside of that, I'm not trading up for a corner. I really like this corner class. Boye Mafe, I'd be willing to move up there. Arnold Ebiketie, he's another one that I'd be willing to move up for. I really like him. I like what he can bring to the defense. Bernard Raymond, I wouldn't mind moving up for as well. There was another one too that I had that if he started to fall, Jalen Petrie or Lewis Seen, either of those safeties, I'd move up for one of them as well.
That's a good one too. Lewis Seen would be a really fun pair with Justin Simmons. He really that kid flies. He's so fast. He hits so hard too. Great in coverage. Like you can slide him down in the box and play some nickel there. He's like a star safety, that safety cornerback hybrid. Play him in the slot. A really good coverage player. I actually am in agreement with you on that one. If he fell to 50, I'd probably go there. To get into the top 40, though, like there's a handful of players I'd probably do it with. The guys that we just talked about are definitely it. Greg Smith jumping in here saying, hope to get this star sending thing squared away over the weekend. Yeah, man, it's great. First things first, it's great that you're even here, and it's great that we get to talk football with you guys. The stars are also very much appreciated, so thank you for that, Greg. But don't think you're hurting our feelings there. Lawrence Rivera, stars for Greg, stars for Greg, stars for Greg. There it is. Everyone's donating some stars for Greg. Thanks, guys. We have the best following. I swear. Like seriously, it's always so fun with this community because everyone takes care of each other. There's lots of prayers up and stuff. Travis jumping in, helping with stars for Greg here. Thanks, guys. We appreciate all your guys' support. This is a lot of fun here. All right. Cody W. jumping back in again. If Chad Muma isn't there at 64, is Nick Bonito the guy? I'm actually off on Nick Bonito. Not at 64. I will say that I would take him in the 4th round, but I don't see him as a top 100 player. I have issues with him in the running game. I have issues with him in his functional strength. He's a great pass rusher, but he's not very super bendy. He has a lot of really good techniques, but he's not a guy that's going to bend around. He's not a high burst player. He's just going to be a solid pass rusher in a rotation at the next level. He's not a guy that you want to throw out there as a true starter in this league. And at 64, that's a little rich for me. Eric, what do you think of that?
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm not a big Nick Bonito fan. Him and Kingsley and Agbar are two guys that I constantly get mock drafts for, or have Denver selecting in these mock drafts, and it's like I just don't like them. I don't like them for Denver. With Enagbar, I don't like him in general. I don't think he's that good at football. Right, he's a good run defender. Let me say that. I think he's very limited as pass rusher. And Nick Bonito, I think you got to have the right role for him. I think if you're looking at him for a Kyle Van Noy type role, I think he can be really good. I don't think he has what it takes to hold up as an edge full time in the NFL. And I don't think that he could really be a full-time off-ball linebacker. He kind of has to play this hybrid role. I like him for that, but it's kind of what the Broncos are doing with Baron Browning. So it's just a little redundant there. But I like him. It's no issues with it. It's not like major issues with his game like I do with Mr. Enagbar. But it's just. Or
how about this one? We're going to throw in a would you rather, 3 players here. Would you rather have Kingsley Enigbar, Drake Jackson, or Nick Bonito?
I refuse to answer that one.
So you have to.
3 edges. The 3 edges that three of the 4 edges that I'm a lot lower on than most people are. Yeah, I'm not a fan of Drake Jackson. At 64. That right? Which one of the 3 at 64?
How about if they're all available at 96?
Oh, if they're all available at 96?
Yep. If they're all available at 96.
Let's see here.
And you haven't taken an edge yet.
All available at 96. Haven't taken an edge yet.
I know I just said I'd probably wait until 115, but I'd probably go Nick Bonito. There's at least a more versatile skill set there than you get with Jackson and with Kingsley Enigbar. That would probably be the way that I would go. But God, that's rough. Oh, that's so.
I'd go Drake Jackson simply because he's my highest edge.
Okay.
And at least with him, I have a more clear role for him.
Right. Yeah.
Nick Bonito. I mean, again, you have that redundancy with Baron Browning, and then with Kingsley and Agbar. Great name. I love the name Kingsley, but he's a good run defender, and it's like if I want that, I'll go get that later. I think that top 150 is too high in my opinion for him. Top 200 really is about too high for him in my opinion. And I fully expect him to go higher than that, by the way. I'm just really low on him. So yeah, Drake Jackson. At least I have an idea of how to use him and where to play him.
Yeah. So we're going to go into another NFL. Oh, wait, we got another super from Tom here. Marvin Lial is a guy that I keep dropping at 64. No, I don't think he's a fit for what Denver wants to do. I really don't. They need if they want the guy that's going to play with his hand in the dirt at the 7 technique, then sure, I can see that. But I think they want a guy that can stand up, get out to as far as a 9, have some bend and some ability to get after the passer. Lial just doesn't have the functional strength to hold up the running game. He's not the best pass rusher either. He's Nick. So we were talking to Nick about Cameron Thomas the other day in our group chat, and he has issues with Cameron Thomas because he's a tweener and he, is like that DeMarcus Walker kind of player. You're just not exactly sure what the defined role is for him. I disagree with that. But DeMarvin Lial is that guy, okay? DeMarvin Lial is freaking DeMarcus Walker, okay? There's my hot take for you today.
He is, and he's probably worse against the run than DeMarcus Walker was.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
Denver seemed to have a focus on run defense, so especially on guys that are playing down on the defensive line. I don't think Lial is a guy that you can stand up as an edge. He's going to be a 3-point stance end. I don't think he can fit as a 4-eye technique.
Nope.
And again, just he's a liability against the run. I just don't see it for Denver. And he tested kind of poorly too.
He did.
He was one who at the Texas A&M Pro Day didn't really help, improve his times or anything.
Yeah. Peter Middleton jumping in here. Would you rather have Baron Browning as a full-time inside or off-ball linebacker? Can he be a starter at off-ball? Yes, and I think that's the direction they're going to go with that. When they do run 2 linebackers, it's going to be Baron Browning. It's probably going to be Josie Jewell as well. And then when they go into the dime, I do see them using Baron Browning more as a chess piece, so they could actually have him coming off of the edge and keeping have him rotate in the edge defender rotation. So that could be a thing there. And then Josie Jewell is the coverage linebacker. But as far as a full-time player, yes, I do fully expect Baron Browning by the end of the season to be the starting full-time off-ball linebacker for this defense, and he doesn't leave the field. Like that's the expectation I have for him. I think he can be that kind of a player.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a defensive weapon for them that they can use in a variety of ways with his athleticism and how he was used in college. He brings that to the table. He definitely brings more value working off the edge than he does off ball. I wasn't sure where the best way to put him was, but I thought he showed enough to, kind of stick out as an off ball linebacker. He's going to have this hybrid role, so we're going to see him doing both, but I don't think we'll see him leave the field often outside of injuries.
Yeah. There was a question about the Vegas draft meetup. Any updates on that? I am not aware of any updates on that. It's from Raymond Perea. So Ray, no, I don't have any updates. Eric, I don't know if you do either. Scott, anything down there? No, he doesn't know anything yet. Watch the Huddle Up show. You might have to throw a super chat on that and to get him to see it. And they'll answer any questions you have about that race. So Huddle Up is on Sundays, Mondays, Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So check that out because they're going to have some more information for you. If they're still doing the Vegas draft meetup, I think they are. I'm not going to be able to go. I get married a month after that, and the fiance said, no, you're not going to Vegas without me, and I'm not going to Vegas a month before the wedding. So Travis Weber jumping in here for offensive lineman and not trying to sound like a homer. But I like Braxton Jones from Southern Utah. Eric, Braxton Jones, high upside guy. I know Scott was a big fan of him from down at the Senior Bowl. Decent in pass protection, really good run blocker, decent athlete. He ran in sub-5 in his 40-yard dash. One of 5 guys, I think, at the offensive tackle position that did. There's a lot to like about Braxton Jones. What do you think of Braxton Jones? Probably 115?
Oh, if you can get him at 115, yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm all for it. I'd consider him at 75, but I'm a
really wow.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I like him. He's not graded higher than Abraham Lucas, but I like him more than Abraham Lucas.
Okay.
Braxton Jones is one of those guys that's my type of offensive lineman. Yeah, I like him. I think he's got good versatility. I think he's one of the few guys in this that I see that really has that potential to play on the left side in the NFL.
Yep.
I think he'd do much better sticking on the right side or being, that swing backup tackle. But he's one of the few that I have that, and that's one of the reasons why I like him more than Abraham Lucas, because he actually has that versatility.
Yeah. So I got a would you rather for you then coming out of this. Let's get Kenny first. Kenny, what's up, dude? It's good to see you, and hopefully you're still doing all right. It's with your new Army career, man. It's great to hear from you. What remaining free agencies should Denver kick the tires on? There's one specifically. I know they already went and signed Kyron Williams for the cornerback position, but Tavon Young, the cornerback from Baltimore, he has slot versatility. He can play on the outside. He's actually a high quality player, high quality coverage player, good tackler, physical and run defense, like a overall just solid addition to the cornerback room, raising the floor of this team. That's a guy that I really am intrigued by. I think the Broncos should at least give him a call and see what he's wanting there.
The one guy that I'd like to see in a Broncos uniform, see him return home to the area, Calais Campbell.
There you go.
I mean, dude's like 80 years old and still playing like at a high level of football. With how young the Broncos are at the position with McTelvin Ajim behind him, I think that he'd be good to help bring him along, kind of be a mentor for him while still being able to bring a starter. And he's still quite capable as a pass rusher and as a run defender. I think that he could really round out the unit up front.
Yeah, that's a good point too. I want to, Peter, you're saying ask Jeffrey's question. Repost it for me so I can see that. We'll get that here in just a second. Oh, Scott's got it. Never mind, Scott's got it. Travis Weber jumping in here again. Hey, Eric. So are we out of the thought of drafting the punter from San Diego State, Matt Araiza? I want you to tell everyone what your finalized draft grade is on Matt Araiza, please, and thank you.
Yeah, he carries I believe a late third round grade from me. Highest grade I haven't graded a lot of punters. I think the last one that I graded that was, actually had a draftable grade was Matt Gay. But yeah, Matt Araiza, he had a late second round or late third round grade for me. I mean, I like him. I mean, the dude's accurate with his kicks. He's got plenty of power, and I can't sleep on the ability that he can bring as a kicker as well. But yeah, I like him, but not for Denver, just simply because hopefully we're not punting a lot. And the times we do punt, I think Sam Martin's fine instead of having to invest into a good amount of draft capital, really, into Araiza.
Yeah. So I want to piggyback off of that really fast because I do agree with you that Sam Martin, what the hell am I doing? Sam Martin is a very, very underrated punter. Like there's some times where he has some really bad punts, but man, there was a couple of times where he, saved the Broncos bacon by booming, 54, 55, 56 yard punts and putting them inside the 10-yard line out of bounds. Like he's a pretty decent weapon. Like, and you don't need to necessarily move on and upgrade from him unless the cost just becomes so prohibitive. And I think that you can redo his deal, get some more cap space worked out and stuff like that. So I don't think Sam Martin needs to be at least replaced, not with a guy that you have to if Erick is correct in his draft evaluation, which is definitely for him. If you're using a late third round pick, so let's say 96, if you're using that on Matt Araiza, miss me with that one. Jeff, here's the one coming back in here really fast. Any dark horses who can come to us with pick number 64? I mentioned one just a second ago. Cameron Thomas, the edge defender from San Diego State. This is a kid. He's not super bendy, not like an explosive athlete, but this guy is solid. He's just going to be a solid football player for you. He can play outside in a 2-point stance. He can line up inside. Maybe he has the size and strength and the ability to rush the passer from a 5 technique if you want to put him out there in a NASCAR package. Solid run defender. There's just nothing like overpowering with his game that says this guy's going to be an elite player. He's just going to be a nice, solid contributor from day one on your defense and probably in a rotation. So you're not going to see him on the field all the time, but he's going to add a lot of quality depth and give you a better floor for your edge room. That's a guy that I really like at 64. If he falls to 75, I'd probably be a little bit better about that. But 64, Cam Thomas, sign me up.
Cam Jurgens.
Oh, yeah, there's another good one. There's another good one there, yep.
Denver met with him, and I think it's pretty obvious that they're looking at upgrading the center position.
Mm-hmm. Great question,
Cole,
by the way, Jeff.
Cole Strange, Tyler Linderbaum.
Yeah.
Or did they bring Tyler Linderbaum in for a visit?
I don't think they did.
I don't think so. I know they brought in Cole Strange, who many view as a center. Dylan Parham, who many also view as a center. Cam Jurgens. There was another center or two that they brought in. They're definitely looking, and there's been plenty of questions that are good questions about Lloyd Cushenberry's fit in a scheme that's going to require him to move. And they seem to be wanting to upgrade that. And as top of the fact that Lloyd Cushenberry really hasn't developed. He had that third round pick, the 83rd overall pick from 2019. 2020?
Yeah. Yes.
2020?
Yeah.
And he went from a bottom 3 center as a rookie to a bottom 5 center last year. So it's a step forward, but not the kind of step forward you want to see. It sounds like that this is a position where maybe they'll take. He was there working with Russell Wilson. That maybe they'll take Russell Wilson's input a little bit, but they're definitely looking at the center position. Cam Jurgens, there's many who view that he's the better center prospect than Tyler Linderbaum. I'm not one of them. So I think he could be there at 64. And it just makes sense for the Broncos.
Yeah, it does. Versatile, great athlete, moves very well. Just a mauler in the running game. Cam Jurgens, I love that kid out of Nebraska. Trying to find all the visits really fast before we move forward. I have finally a list here. Give me just a second here. So the Broncos, where's it? Oh, it just jumped on me. The Broncos have had 4 visits. Never mind. Yeah, that's not going to work. I'm not going to be able to run through all that right this second. We'll get you another list and put it up there for you guys. I know they had Cole Strange in for a visit, though, so that's a guy that I really like. 4th round pick, Tennessee Chattanooga, probably 116 overall. If you can get him there, I'd be really about that. He's center guard versatile. That would be something. Put him in there in the rotation with minors, with Graham Glasgow and with Dalton Reisner, and just let him compete and see what he does. Because when he went to the Senior Bowl a couple of months ago, he was just dominant down there. So that's a guy that I really like. One more super chat here, and then we're going to jump back into this would you rather, because I got a really good one for you, Eric, that I want your input on. Tom jumping in here saying, if we go 2nd round edge and 3rd round offensive tackle, who are 2 guys that are realistic in those spots? I do like that we have back-to-back picks at 115 and 116. 2nd round edge, Cam Thomas is one for sure to keep your eyes on there. Who else, Eric? That's such a weird range, because 2nd round edge, the value starts again after 75. That's where you're going to start getting the Drake Jacksons, the Kingsley Enagbari's, the Nick Benitos of the world. Sam Williams would be one from Ole Miss. There's a couple of guys there, but in the 2nd round, 64, what do you think on edge there? And then a couple of offensive tackles at 75. We've kind of talked about those guys already, so.
I think the only edge I'd be looking at 64 that I think could realistically be there is Josh Pasquel out of.
Oh yeah, I forgot about him. Mm-hmm.
He's probably the only edge that I'd be looking at there. It's just that weird spot, that late second. I think the guys who are worth it would be gone by then, and the rest of the guys just aren't worth it. Worth that slight reach for them. And then as for offensive tackles, if Braxton Jones there, I'd be looking at Spencer Burford.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not super high on him, but Rasheed Walker's another one who could fit. Those are 3 tackles there in that 3rd round pick 75 that I'd be looking at.
Yep. Good answer there. All right. Lawrence Rivera jumping back in with an update here. Much love, guys. Thank you for shouting out my uncle and keeping my mind occupied. I'm going to go catch the sunset. Much love for Broncos family. And Lawrence, much love to you from everybody at Dove Valley Deep Divers and the Mile High Huddle and the Huddle Up Podcast Network. Man, again, thoughts and prayers and our biggest condolences go out to you and your family, sir. Travis, couple more here, guys. Travis Weber jumping in here. Bernhardt, the former lacrosse player out of Maryland and played quarterback at another school, I can't remember, was brought in for a visit. He was at Ferris State, I think, D2 school. He was the Player of the Year award winner, I think, back-to-back seasons at Maryland as a lacrosse player. Transferred to Ferris State to go play quarterback at the Division II football level. won the starting job, and then took that Ferris State school to a national championship game and won. Like, this kid is just crazy, ridiculous story. Now he's transitioning from quarterback to wide receiver. Came in at wide receiver and potentially a kick returner. As it came in for a visit with George Payton the other day. Is it Justin Bernhardt? Is that his first name? I can't remember. Jared, that's it. Thank you. The interesting story, Eric. Have you, with this information, have you taken even a half an iota of a second to go and take a look at him at all, or not? No.
Like, if you're looking at him as an undrafted free agent guy.
Yep.
I mean, while you're just talking, I did a quick look on it. I guess he did run like a 4.740 at the Maryland Pro Day that he was at. So, I mean, I don't know. I haven't watched him. Not going to make a judgment on him.
4.7 for a wide receiver. That's an ouchie, bro. That's a real ouchie, bro. And you're right. Undrafted free agent, kind of a guy, dartboard throw. Let's bring him into camp and see if he can compete. All right. We're at 57 minutes here. I still want to get to this one last. I actually have two of them here that I want to get to, but this one for sure, because I think it's very, very astute thinking here. It's also maybe a little bit controversial here. So let's say that you have an equal value on a player with character concerns and a player with injury concerns. And now I know you're redoing your board, and a lot of these players with injuries are falling down. But let's just say, for example, hypothetical here, and I don't know your grades on this, but Sam Williams at 96, okay? And then Damon Clark, if you have a third round grade on a player like him, and you have the injury concerns with Damon Clark, the spinal fusion surgery, or Sam Williams, who you know has sexual assault allegations and stuff like that, which direction do you go?
This is a situation where, without being able to speak to Sam Williams, that I really would go neither.
Right.
With the injury to Damone Clark, like, that's just way too much of a risk at that point. And then Sam Williams, without being able to speak to him, without knowing who he is or anything like that, I just couldn't pull the trigger on either of them at that point. Sam Williams graded out well, but I mean, that's just such a huge question mark that I really just don't know on it. And then Damone Clark, like, I still think he gets drafted, but probably late day 3 at this point. And I mean, even before he got hurt, I don't think he was a top 100 pick, maybe top 150.
Right.
So it's a situation where I'd be neither.
And I don't necessarily disagree with you on that, but I want to kind of. I want to pick your brain on the philosophy there. Maybe it's not even the sexual assault concerns, or it's this guy had a torn hamstring that ended his season. You know, like you have a guy that has an injury concern like that, something he's going to be able to recover from and still be able to come back and be the player that you projected him to be. Or you have a player that has a lot of high character concerns. Maybe like, for instance, he's an alcoholic, or he had an assault allegation, or a DUI or something like that. Like, it doesn't have to be. I just wanted to throw a couple names in this draft that actually do have these concerns that are very real concerns. So that's kind of the thinking I want from you on that one. Which one would you rather go? So say player A has a DUI, and then player B has had a broken ankle in his senior year at college.
Again, it's a situation that, with anything with injuries or off-field concerns,
right?
It's without having the information that I need, I can't really go heavy into one way or the other, because there's just so many other variables in play. It would depend on, like, who else is on the board, things like that. So it's one really that I can't make a selection at. Okay.
And that's fair. And being in the situation that we are in, being separated from teams, we're obviously, we're we're professionals. We work and do this stuff for a living, but at the same time, we're not like in the NFL. We don't work for a team, so it is hard because you got to try to find some back channel information, talk to a lot of people behind the scenes, and get as much information as you can. So I respect that on that one. I was hoping that maybe you had a little bit more insight to that, but if you don't, then that's fine. One last one here,
real quick. I wanted to grab this question from Zebulon. Okay. He said, didn't Cooper Kupp run like a 4.6? If the dude was a QB, then 40 might not matter if he's smart and knows how to help the quarterback. Yeah, but Cooper Kupp consistently showed it as a receiver. Mm-hmm. And 4.6 and 4.7 is quite different, especially when you factor the size. Cooper Kupp was like 205 pounds when he did that. This guy was like 178. So that matters as well. Experience matters. Like it's one of those things of outliers are outliers for a reason. Mm-hmm. And you just don't see many receivers have success if they hit a certain mark on the 40-yard dash. When you look at 4.7 and greater and slower, I guess would be the better way to put it. Only one who's really had success at that is Anquan Bolden, and that's just because at the time he was playing in the NFL and his play style, it was a perfect match. Yeah. So, and I wasn't trying to form an opinion on this former lacrosse player just off that 40. That was literally the only bit of information I was able to pick outside of the fact that he was, I think, measured in at 6'1" and 179 or something odd pounds.
Yeah, like that's. I don't know much about him. I'm not going to try to lock into definitives, but 4.7 at a receiver position, and you're trying to become a drafted player after never playing the position ever, without seeing what tools you have to work with. It's really hard to make that evaluation on him. But you're not starting off great by not being that good of an athlete to move forward in the NFL. It's actually kind of funny because as you were talking about that former lacrosse player, his name is escaping me for some reason. I did look up Cooper Kupp. He did run 4.62 at the combine, but he was 6'2", 204 when he did it. And this is Lance Zierlein's NFL draft or NFL.com draft grade. He had a prospect grade of 6.20, and according to his scale, said will eventually be an average starter in the NFL. So pretty much one of the top NFL draft names as far as a scout in the scouting community goes. Lance Zierlein is tremendous at what he does, and he didn't even think that Cooper Kupp was going to be as good as he is. Tom jumping in here with another $5. My goodness, Tom, you have been just so supportive over the last 4 or 5 different shows. Thank you so much, dude. How far do you think Zion McCollum has risen? Great pod again tonight, guys. At Broncos Talk Legends, # Denver Broncos for life. Zion McCollum, Eric, what do you think?
I have him as a top 100 player. I think he's top 100 player on my board. And I wouldn't be surprised if he goes top 100. And if he doesn't, I wouldn't be surprised if it's not long after that he goes. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of love for him. I mean, how he tested at the combine, what he did in the drills. I mean, he was really smooth with his drills. I mean, he was super impressive in that aspect of it. Everything about him with the team, with meetings that they've had with him, talking to him, like it's just been nothing but praise for him. And it's just one of those guys that scouts love and coaches love. So wouldn't be surprised if he goes a lot higher than people think.
Yeah. All right. Last one for me here really fast. And then we'll run through some matters of business and get the heck out of here and let you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend here. All right. Last question as far as the right tackle position is concerned. Got 3 names for you. We've talked about a couple of them already, and I know your feelings on one of them. But we haven't talked about the third one. So I'm going to set it up like this. You have Abraham Lucas at number 64, Braxton Jones at number 175 or at number 75, or Dare Rosenthal at number 115. Which one would you rather draft?
Braxton Jones. I like Dare Rosenthal, and it's just a matter of I like Braxton Jones a lot more.
Right.
And it's one of those situations where the value may not be the best in Braxton Jones. But yeah, I really like Braxton Jones. And I think that with him, there's not as much development needed as there is with Rosenthal. Like with Rosenthal, you're basically working from the ground up. And he's at that point where Ryan Vandermark out of Connecticut. that I'd be looking at him at probably. And I think that early, like before 125, 130 is just a little rich for me. But I mean, I'd be willing to do it. But it's just, again, it's just a situation where I like Braxton Jones that much more. I think he's got the makings to be a long time right tackle in the NFL at the very least. Maybe not like, consistent Pro Bowl, all pro guy type, but I mean, one of those types that he's your starter, he's your starter, and you're perfectly content with him as your starter.
Okay. So I gotta bounce this one off of you to try to give you two different scenarios here. We're going to go Braxton Jones at 75 and Deangelo Malone at 115, or Josh Pasquel at 75 and Darrell Rosenthal at 115.
Oh, Braxton Jones and Deangelo Malone.
Okay. All right. Well, that's going to wrap it up for us tonight. Thank you all for joining us on the Dove Valley Deep Divers podcast. Thank you all for all of your support. Like, seriously, you guys don't know how much it means to us to be able to do this and to have the support that you guys show for us every single week. It means the world to us, guys. You guys can follow us on Twitter and interact with us a little bit more at Sanderson MHH for me, for Eric at Erick Trickel, and for Scott behind the scenes running the ones and twos, making sure we got all of your guys' super chats and stars pulled up today at Scout Kennedy. Also, guys, while you are at it, make sure you guys are following at Mile High Huddle. That is some other account where you guys are going to find breaking news and analysis regarding your Denver Broncos. You got all the film breakdowns. You'll have all of the draft content, scouting reports flying. Erick's been doing like damn near 2 a day. It's crazy. He's got like almost 100.
No, I have been. Not damn near. I have been.
Yes, it's been awesome to be able to follow what Erick's been able to do.
Published today.
Oh, there you go. But yes, Erick has been just cranking out as much draft content as possible. Mile High Huddle, at Mile High Huddle. That's where you're going to be able to find it. MileHighHuddle.com as well, guys. Folks, if you guys are financially able to do so, make sure you guys head on over to HuddleUpPod.com. That's the merch booth where you guys can get yourself a hat. There's a T-shirt. There's anything for every show, a hoodie, a face mask, a coffee cup, a onesie for your baby, anything to suit your guys' fancy. Great way to support the show, HuddleUpPod.com. Head on over that way if you're financially able to do so. Facebook users, make sure you go to Facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. That's the podcast account, or the Huddle Up Network account on Facebook.com. And guys, if you guys are not financially able to support the show in any way, whether it's a super chat or whether it's a stars donation on Facebook, or if you don't want to go get any of the merch because that's not your bag, guys, 3 things everybody needs to be doing is subscribe wherever you guys are watching this. Make sure you subscribe to Mile High Huddle, specifically on YouTube, but on Facebook, on Twitter, on Twitch, all social media platforms. Subscribe to Mile High Huddle. Like every video and article that you see, please. That helps us out so much if you do that, because it helps the algorithm get some more eyes and stuff on it. But if you really love it, share it. That's like the most organic way you can help us grow our community. It's the best and easiest way to make sure that we can do what we do best, which is cover your Denver Broncos. Now, with that, guys, Erick, any last words? Dude, this was a fun show. I had a blast tonight. This was a lot of fun.
I always like the Would You Rathers, and I like how the conversation takes off from them. So yeah, it was a good show, and I'm excited for it, and maybe we'll try to sneak one more in right before the draft or something.
Yeah, I'll see if I can come up with some other interesting and intriguing questions for you guys, and you guys need to help support the show as far as that is concerned, and give us all of your great comments and stuff, all of your great questions. We love and appreciate every single one of you guys. We're going to get out of here with that, guys, so you guys stay safe and take care. Have a great rest of your weekend, and as always, go Broncos.
You've been listening to the Huddle Up Podcast. Join Broncos Country's deep divers at MileHighHuddle.com to keep the conversation going.